Welcome to the Inner Room with Out of My Damn Mind. This is the space where walls fall away, where stories don't just get told, they land, messy, real, and alive. Here, writers open the door to what drives them, what haunts them, and what keeps them going. Every voice has its own rhythm, its own scars, its own sparks. And together we trace the threads that hold us, break us, and connect us all. I am so excited to have this beautiful new voice into the Inner Room. Stabilize, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, Marlena. I'm happy. I'm happy to be here.
Oh, I've been like, every time I love when a returning co-host comes back because it's like a friend that I get to sit and talk to, but every time there's a new voice, I get a little bit extra excited and nervous all at the same time. So trust me, I am super stoked that you get to kind of shed some light on some of my questions today. We get to know you a little bit better. Are you excited? Are you nervous?
I'm excited. All of my nerves kind of went away. I'm sure they're still there, and I've somehow just dislocated myself.
Well, I do enjoy that subset. Gives us a little bit of a preview time before we go live. I just wanted to thank and welcome in Kevin, The Secret Ingredients, Cyber Coma, John, Danielle. Thank you all for joining. Um, Beautifully Broken. Hey. All right, so since you are new here, I'm gonna let everybody know kind of what the Inner Room is designed to do. I usually come up with 20 curated questions for my co-host. Um, they're anywhere between human to just your writing to like some fun random shit. I like to like have a full spectrum of questions. I don't ever like to be in like a heavy place for too long or like a funny place for too long, like a nice little mix of everything. What I like to do is either ask my co-hosts if they want to pick their numbers from 1 to 20, or I can randomly pick. It's completely up to you.
You can randomly pick.
All right. Are you ready for your first question?
Yes.
All right. We start off with something simple. What brought you to Substack and what made you stay?
Oh, that's a good question. So what brought me to Substack was I have a blog. I've always used WordPress, and I am building like a mobile application and website, right? So I needed a platform to talk and to write, and I found Substack, and at first I was intimidated as hell by it. I mean, I was intimidated by all the notes and the restacks, and I think if you scroll to my very first post, it was I was just like really trying to find my voice and like what I wanted to say and stuff like that. And then I stayed because I encountered amazing writers. And then I entered this sort of community space where I realized, oh, I can talk about the things that mean something to me, like mental health and relationships and things like that. I can talk about them through stories, and I learn from reading others.
Mm.
So, yeah.
Okay. I feel like we all had like the first missteps of what do I do here? I mean, if you go to my first post, I think it's like probably like this long and it doesn't have like any like it's just words on a screen. So I mean, even my aunt's like you have evolved over the months of even just the formatting of like the way that I do things. So I think within time, just like in anything, we all kind of discovered the rhythm that matches our beat and we get, opportunities that may be influenced by what we see by other people. I love that you talk about, you learn from reading too. I find it a lot easier to talk about some of the things that I want to talk about, like what you said, like tougher topics like mental health and addiction and different types of relationships and the dynamics of them, because there's so many people just openly providing their opinions and their point of views of those subjects and being vulnerable about those subjects. It allows me to feel like I'm allowed to take up space in that space. Does that make sense?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
All right. So Soaring Cloud, thanks for joining this. I don't want to ever say your name wrong. How would you say it? Sierra? Sierra? Syra?
I think it's Sierra, Sierra.
Sierra,
Like,
Sierra. I
the way
mean,
I said, like, oh,
that's
there's
how you would say it too?
yeah,
Okay,
oh,
as
there's
long as
the
we're on the same page. Well, hello, hello. Blasphemous
oh,
Herald, hello. You're from the UK. I have like an amazing writer friend on this platform that's also from the UK. Thank you for dropping in here. It's about 5:30 over there for you. Rebecca, thanks for dropping in. All right, well, I we all have a Substack story, and I love that you're here, and I love that we get an opportunity to read the work that you're creating. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about the you said you're a web browser, or what were you developing?
Y Yeah, so I'm building, so I have bipolar disorder, and I needed to find a personalized way to monitor my symptoms over time because mania can creep up on me, so can depression. And so it's basically a virtual journal, it's like an AI chatbot basically, but one that's been carefully designed, to promote philosophical and psychological ways of thinking and navigating through situations. And then there's a comprehensive analysis of your conversations over time. So it gives you like your initial psychological state, and then it gives you how you changed or progressed through the conversation, as well as like areas to improve and what your strengths seem to be. And then there's a dialogue feature so that you can there's a dialogue feature so that you can delve into subjects with and receive sort of prompts. And then there's a free space where it's basically like your own personalized diary or journal, something like that. And so we're building the web browser now, and we are about to submit it to like the App Store and Google Play. We just need to hammer out a few things.
Well, just like Beautifully Broken, you had me at philosophical. I love philosophical conversations because it allows me to just, like, think. Right? And I love it because there's no wrong answer. Like, everybody gets to have an opinion about something, and it's fun to debate philosophical thoughts and stuff like that. So, honestly, what you have created may have started from your own diagnosis and trying to track, but it sounds like it could really help us, like, a plethora of people. Like, I'm intrigued.
Yeah,
Like
that's
like,
exactly it. That's exactly it. Like I want everyone to use it ideally because I think it's like it's a neat application.
it sounds amazing. So, I mean, obviously, we'll continue to support and keep track, and I would assume that when you actually get it onto an app or a Play Store or something like that, you'll finally let us all know here on Substack, right?
Yes, of course.
I think you did you catch the chat with, the Queen's Addiction?
No, I didn't.
So she was a fellow co-host, I think I had her on in January, and she is somebody else who's very open about her bipolar disorder and, the stigmas that kinda come with it and maybe some, lack of understanding or really what it is. Because I think people for the longest time, 1, didn't talk about mental health, and 2, didn't really understand like, what each mental health diagnosis was really about, and they just kinda had, like, it's even, like, with horoscopes, like, I'm a Leo, people have, like, prejudgments of Leos, right? So, when somebody comes out and says something I that shares their mental health disorder, but I know that, like, people look at it and just like, "Well, does that mean you're crazy?" Or, you know what I'm saying? Like, people have
Yeah.
different, like, causes of that, so have you felt like in your life that when you shared that with somebody, it changed the relationship at all?
Um, I mean, there are those who don't really believe in mental illness, like they don't believe, l- l- they believe that there are factors at work, but they don't like mental illness. And so I have felt stigma from different avenues. I know that, for instance, when I talk about being bipolar, I like in a public setting, I find myself being like, "Oh, how do I talk about this properly? How do I talk about this like elegantly?" And I know that there must be some level of stigma that I've experienced because I'm applying for my master's in philosophy and I'm interested in the philosophy of mental illness. So it goes like beyond research, and like it goes beyond my illness and bleeds into research and wanting to genuinely understand the different ways people have approached mental illness, like, and anxiety and dread and apprehension and love over time. Because I think when you have a stronger grasp of the philosophical concepts, you can separate yourself from the stigma because you're like, "Oh, these are, like, the different emotions and topics and ideas that are going into a feeling in one's head." And I think that the more you understand something, the more comfortable you get with it.
I mean, I think I agree. I mean, I feel like there is obviously stigmas around addiction and that, people that are addicted to things, they're lazy or they don't, they're just picking the easy route out or something like, and I don't think that people really understand, um, the way that an addiction is a coping mechanism, not really
Mhm,
like, like it doesn't define who that person is. It just happens to be a way that somebody is choosing to deal with the life that they were handed and stuff. So, um, I give you a lot of props for continuing to educate yourself and not just about your own, but all mental health. I've always said I suffer from anxiety that could lead to depression, and I feel like those go hand in hand. And I feel like it's like the chicken or the egg. Like,
mhm.
some people say, "Well, no, I'm depressed that leads to anxiety," or "My depression causes my anxiety," and stuff, so it's a back and forth situation. "Oh, Eliza, you're here!" He did say there's a ton of that in Alberta, and it's really sad, the lack of understanding of mental health is. Yeah. I mean, again, we can't force people to, um, see it for what it is or believe in it, right? But I do think the ones that are open-minded and willing to continue to educate themselves, that's how you continue to improve, like, the people around you by just,
Yeah.
you know, living and showing up in the ways that are healthiest for you, and I just feel like that, ripples effects out. So
Mhm. And I think that it's like it's okay to use other people's ways of understanding the world to explain it to them. Like instead of saying, "Oh, I think I'm getting manic," I'll describe the symptoms, which is like I am not sleeping very much. I have like upped my activity, like I can't stop making art, things like that. Like you describe what's actually happening and you compare it to a normal, steady, stable baseline,
mm,
and then that, like, just because I think that it's not our job to educate others, but it is our responsibility if we have the voice and if we have the strength to do it. I think that it's important to talk about it out loud so that other people who experience it, who may be hiding or may not be comfortable enough to talk about it, find comfort and solace in the fact that another person could. Because I think part of my growing comfort is the fact that I've studied like women and men who struggle like quite heavily. And I read a lot of mentally ill like writers and things like that. And knowing that they exist makes life easier because you're like, oh, it's not just me.
yeah, I mean, it reminds me of that saying, "Misery loves company," but I don't think that's what it really means. I mean, like, I think they're just there's a really human aspect about realizing that you're not the only one that thinks this way, or you're not the only way that one that feels this way. I live in a household with me and my dog, and then upstairs is my sister and my nephew. And my nephew was diagnosed with ADHD, and I tell me and my sister, there's no way that that kid has it, and we don't. We just never were diagnosed with it, and we can obviously go search for that or whatever the case might be. But like, I feel like something that's really relevant with us as ADHD folks in this dynamic of our household is when we're overwhelmed, it can be very hard to communicate with one another. So,
Hmm.
like, if my nephew is really fixated on doing something and I'm over there, like, just talking to him, he's not really listening. So he'll eventually snap at me. And then am I at fault? Probably, because he was giving me signs that he wasn't able to listen or whatever. And then, like, so I've learned a lot about, like, ADHD amongst just being present with me and my sister and my nephew. Like, the 3 of us in a room together, it can get really kind of dynamically insane
Yeah.
because we all have our idiosyncrasies that can make us kind of flare up, and then it's family, so we feel like it's appropriate behavior when it's really not. But you know what I mean? Like, so that's when I started noticing, like, I walk up there, what is the like, I notice the room, like, what is everybody doing? Are they open or are they at a space that we can have a conversation? Because if they're not and they're focused on something else, me trying to talk to them right now is probably not gonna get through. So, learning from my own dynamic, it probably will continue to help me on in the outside world too, because again, I don't know how many people work in an office, but, if you are one of those lucky people that work in an office and you have a cubicle and there's somebody next to you and you have a friend that likes to come over when you're knee deep in your deadline paperwork and all of a sudden they're just constantly chatting, it's very hard not to be like snippy, right? Like, I can't do this right now. Like,
Yeah.
we've all felt that. So I think that, learning that and then not being that, because as an ADHD person, like, I can overwhelm people because I want to talk. I need to speak. I have thoughts in my head. Blah, blah, you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
you got you guys all got the whole gist of that. Hi, Monday's wife. Ted said empathy loves company for sure. So I guess that's a better expression than misery loves company. Empathy.
Yes, I like that one a lot.
I think that one makes a little bit more sense. Karen, thanks for coming in as well. Uh, it I go like this way sometimes, so I'm gonna bring it back in, and I'm gonna ask you another question because it's kinda it may tie into what we're talking about. Are you
Okay.
ready? Where does the name Stabilize come from for you?
Oh, that's a funny story. It's actually it's oh my god. So I was working at an ankle monitoring company and I got let go because I made a mistake. And I was really like scrambling. Like I love that job a lot. And but it was a work from home job. So I was really like sheltered in my head, in my space, all the time. Like I got a treadmill so that I would exercise and actually not have to go out. And so my life when I got let go, it was like up in shambles, but I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I applied everywhere. I applied to the library. I applied w- lots of places. And I had been building this application, the one that I'm working on, Stabilize itself, before, like while I was working for the company, but I didn't know how to design the back end. And so I had put the project on pause. And one night, and I was just like, I was smoking weed. I wasn't, in a good spot and using many things to cope. And I fell asleep and I had a dream that I was doing like handstands. It like or like I was actually doing somersaults in a
Mhm.
gym. And then I was trying to do a handstand and this man walks up to me and he watches me for a long time and he says, "Stabilize." And I don't know if it was just because like, it seems so silly, right? But,
No.
when I woke up, I was like, "Oh my god, that's what I need to do. I need to find my balance point. I need to find, like, the part of my life where everything is just balanced instead of going, like, from one end to the other because I can rapid cycle." And I just wanted to slow it down a bit. And so that's where stabilize really comes from. It's just like finding your own like inner peace or like inner momentum or like that point inside yourself where you are healthy and but like healthy to yourself. Thank you.
I was gonna say, yes, I completely agree with beautifully broken. Definitely love that. It's funny because when you were talking, I have had a lot of dreams that I feel like have helped me kind of understand myself. So I love that you had a moment in a dream that like has continued to shape, because you're utilizing this name not just for your app, but also for your publication, and obviously continues to hold true in a message that you feel is important, even if you think it's funny. I think it's I love when our dreams help us continue to
Me too.
process things, because I say this all the time, like, I think lately, because I'm always busy in my day life, in my sleep, my subconscious is able to actually process the underlying things that I may be ignoring by being productive throughout my day. So I feel like my dreams definitely help. Um, I don't know. Hold on, because I was like, now I'm missing things. Okay, so Monday. Ted said stable is usually so good, and it's sometimes harder to get right. Like, it's not just you tell yourself, "Oh, be stable," and like now you're stable.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there's a lot of process to it. Um, what do you mean Monday's wife? When did the Marlena moment? Gotta order lunch. Hopefully it's something good.
Enjoy.
Can you please tell me what you're I need inspiration. Let me know what you're getting. Um, but I I have created life quakes and rebirth, and I think what you were talking about was a life quake moment for you, which I've also had. A job loss is life quakey. It definitely doesn't keep you what was keeping you stable in something is now ripped from you. So I felt like I just recently came up with an assessment, and I felt like stabilize is part of, like, clarity. Like, when you finally have that, like, clarity moment and stuff of why this happened, or, you have a better understanding of certain things, then you're able to be stabilized in the moving forward in your reclamation decisions of how to continue to survive the life that you're continuing to grow for yourself. So I mean, I'm sorry that you lost that job, but it sounds like, just like my job loss a year ago, it sounds like you needed to continue to push yourself outside of yourself to get to and focus on the thing that I think is this app could definitely help a lot of people, you know?
Yeah, and I don't know, like, I don't know how many people have have adjusted from, like, working from home to entering the world and needing to enter the world, but everything was so loud. Like, I remember, like, needing to put my headphones on, and I remember, like, literally retreating inside of myself, and it took a while, like, a couple of months for me to, like, adjust to all of the sounds on the bus and all of the smells, like, all the cars were so loud. And it's amazing how that happens, like how your body reacts and your brain changes and your physiological responses adjust. It's interesting.
Well, I mean, I think the world experienced that during COVID in 2020, where a lot of people, were used to going somewhere and doing something, and or having their favorite deli open at, X amount of time, whatever. Like, here in New York, my family's experience that lived here at the time, because I lived in Florida at the time, was that a lot of things were shut down, and my sister now went from going in to work to working from home with a child who no longer was going into school, but having virtual school. So I think it definitely disrupted us, the people that were affected or had to stay home. When I was in Florida at the time of COVID, um, that state did not do the same things as the state of New York. They did not close anything down. Everybody was pretty much sure COVID would never exist because it was too hot down there. Um, so I worked for PetSmart at the time, and we were considered essential workers because we provided food for animals, and just like your supermarket, we were basically a supermarket for animals, so we were to stay open. Um, yeah, it was a very interesting experience, but what I noticed is that I was coming in a lot of contact with a lot of people in Florida, while my sister and my father up here were kinda secluded from a lot of what they were used to doing. So it definitely had an effect, and a residual effect that I think people to this day are still kind of dealing with. I had the reverse situation. So I worked in retail, and when last year I was let go from my company, I was constantly around people. And now I'm constantly by myself or with my dog. So things got a lot quieter for me. It was like completely opposite. Got a lot quieter for me. And I think that quiet, it was my uncomfortable, because I'm used to being distracted or having things to do or being around a lot of people, like having to sit with myself and be present with myself was the harder thing for me to overcome. So it's very interesting how similar life quakes, completely different, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
experiences. I don't know. Um, Elijah said, "Nah, stability is an absolute journey." Correct. um, I still don't get it. Monday's wife prefer that name. And then he said, "And it's funny because I feel like stability isn't linear either. It sometimes is survival." I
Yeah.
mean, absolutely. I think sometimes a lot of what we do is survival, which also could be resilience, you know? So I think survival does play a lot of hands in this. He also said, "We went camping for 2 weeks in 2005 as kids for hunting outfitters, and I profoundly remember how fast and scary being in a car on the highway felt." Interesting. So because you were camping and then all I'm a little I feel like I need a little bit more information there, Elijah. Ted said 2020 was such an odd year. I mean, again, I feel like it continues to show up how it was. Sierra said, "Fatima, name your favorite writer on Substack."
You can't put me on the spot like that. But I will say, like, there are a number of authors that I really respect. Um, Marlena, Matthew Holvey, Sierra, Nicole, Elijah, Cyber Coma, Grant David Crawford. Like the list just goes on because each of them are so good at what they do that just reading them is an instruction. Fiona, I started her novel Labyrinthia. See, so you start and you can't stop because you're like, who else? You know?
You know what's funny is I went to a library recently with my aunt and my uncle because I was watching a young gentleman perform a cello session. And my aunt was like, you should get your library card." And I talked about it on my previous live about maybe getting a library card because some of them rent out puzzles. So I'm over here getting a library card. And I'm thinking to myself, well, I'm not, I have so much access to beautiful writing right on my phone. But for some reason, I also obviously would enjoy having my library card and doing things there, but to your point, there are amazing amount of and all of you write things that are in a lane, but in your own lane, if that makes sense. Like,
Mhm.
open to be vulnerable, but also, like, in your own very unique voice. And like you said, a lot of what I read helps either identify something within me. So I always find, like, I scroll and I, like, look and certain, like, titles will catch my eye, I'll bookmark stuff, and when I finally am in a place to read and I start reading, and I go back to the things that I bookmarked, it's like, it caught my attention for a reason, and I had to read that piece for a reason, and that's why I enjoy this platform so much is because of the mirroring that I feel like happens for me and my experience here. But,
Definitely. Definitely.
Mm. Ted said, "I'm learning from you already." So, Fatima, so, you're you're uh, Elijah said, "Because I hadn't been in a car for so long, it felt so weird," kind of like what Fatima said about getting okay, yeah, so that's what I'm guessing. So, yeah, when you go camping, you're secluded, then getting back into a car, yeah. Anything like this, any time period where you're not doing something for a period of time and then all of a sudden it's right in your face very loudly, I think it affects everybody. We were
Mhm.
literally intense for 2 weeks. Ted's a major library user. Love that.
I
Alright.
used to work in a library. I have nothing but library books in my house right now. I
I love
love
that.
the library.
I mean, I feel like the libraries are also very amazing places nowadays because they also have kept up with, being places where you can utilize things that maybe you don't have at home, like quiet, but, like, computers and resources and stuff there, so, I'm excited to go library hopping with my new library card, I'm not gonna lie. Uh
Yeah, and a lot of them offer really cool services, like, you could get 3D printers, you can, use services that aren't strictly books, like, libraries are amazing.
Well, that's what I feel like I realized because funny story, the woman hosting this thing that my uncle invited me to, this man who's playing the cello, before it started, this woman was talking about all the events that they were having the next couple of months, and she happened to be the librarian of my elementary school.
No
So
way.
I looked at her and I was like, "Did you work at Barnabas?" And she was like, "Yeah, like, a really long time ago, but I had really long hair." I was like, "You still look the same." Like, she had the same face, so, like, it didn't matter what her hair looked like to me. It was like so then I had to, like, figure out who this person was because I couldn't remember her name. I just knew her
Yeah,
face. And she was like,
yeah,
"I can't believe" and I was like, "I can't believe the librarian of my elementary school is now working in this library that I happen to be at." Like, random. So, my sister's friend had to find a yearbook of us in elementary school to figure out her name, and it was quite crazy how she did look exactly the same, just short hair compared to long hair, and,
yeah,
it was one of those moments that was like, "Oh, life could be quirky, life could be
yeah,
surprising." Um, Beautifully Broken said, "After I spent that long time in jail, car ride was wild." I mean, I'm sure and again, I think people take for granted the transition of somebody who has been incarcerated to now living. Like, it is very different types of lifestyles, right, from being in there to being out here. So I think everything yeah, I can only imagine Beautifully Broken.
yeah. I remember when people close to me, left jail, we would go for, like they would always one of them would always want me to take him for car rides, like, and, like, he would want me to drive and just, like, drive him around the city, and we would talk and listen to music for hours. But, yeah, you could tell, like, the adjustments that had to be made and, like, how his personality adjusted over time too to, like, certain habits and, like, the rituals. Like, HVR shared, like, when we wrote that story together, The Bridge, he mentioned and I can't remember what it is now, of course, my brain, but it was the story of a man who wants to go to jail for the winter because then it will be warm. And when like, that was true for one of the people that I knew. Like, he would rather be incarcerated because at least then I remember him telling me, he was like, "Well, at least I'll have a space and I'll have food." And if worse came to worse, he would just go into solitary confinement, like, he would get in trouble and just go in solitary confinement. So, yeah, jail life and real life and how they mix and how it never leaves you, like, I see it not leaving, like, certain things, is interesting, the adaptation. Yeah, so
It also makes me, like, super fucking sad, right? Because it makes me feel like and I'm just gonna go off on my own little tangent for 3 seconds, but it makes me feel like, as usual, like, if things were more accessible, if things were easier for everyone, if things weren't just stigmatized to, "Well, you were incarcerated, so you apparently can't do this job." Like, that bullshit, like, if everything was just accessible to everyone, then people wouldn't feel like, "Well, prison ain't that bad, at least I have housing and food." Like, what? Like, and you know what? In all honesty, yo, it's fucking rough out here to just have housing and food,
yeah.
So, yeah, I totally get that where, it might not be great because 'cause you're just in the same walls,
Mhm.
and you get to go outside maybe once in a while, but, when you just talk about, like, basic stuff, like just having a peace of mind of, "Well, at least I don't have to worry about bills or a job or" where I'm getting my meal, like those simple like that takes a toll on people. So yeah, I just wish that things were a little bit more easier for all as opposed to what it is for some, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
So Sierra asked me, "Name your wildest story in Substack," and I'm like my wildest story that I've read on Substack, or like the wildest story that I wanna share to Substack, or like my wildest story that I've already like, I need more clarification. So before I answer that, um but I wanted to welcome in John, Amber, William, thanks for joining us. I wanna shift a little bit to some of your writing, so obviously I have questions. In A Tunnel of Love, love shifts from passion into care. What do you think happens to love as it ages?
I think it depends on who like who's in the relationship. Because I've heard of relationships where they just become very, very, very good friends and there's no romance, there's no like eroticism anymore. And then I know couples who have been together for more than 20 years who like make out on the couch and and do like naughty stuff to each other to this day and like love each other. Um but I think that love, like, at first and I should say that I don't know enough about it personally, but from what I've seen, I think that it grows into something that is stable, that has a core to it. Like, you get to know someone's mannerisms, you get to know someone's way of being in the world, and you get to be there for them and they get to be there for you. And I think it's like it's probably I think the ideal romantic relationship would be one where you have each other's backs, you know? And it almost goes without saying, like, you know so much about each other that it's just a very strong friendship, like, but with a love element to it, I guess.
I mean, are you hoping to have a partner for 20 plus years that still makes out with you on the couch?
Yeah, of course.
Like, I was like, I'm also, like, aware by being observant of, other people's situations around me because I single over here, but I don't wanna say that it's a failed relationship if at the end of it, you don't have any romance and it's just like, I know their intricacies, I am comfortable with them, like, that's my best friend. Like, I don't wanna say that's a fail, but I am more intrigued on the partners who can be together for 30 plus years and still have that romance and fire and desire for their partner. And I feel like that is the type of love that I would love to have. I want the friendship, I want the best friend to like, have my back throughout the rest of my time on this earth, but I also still want somebody that looks at me the same way that they first looked at me, you know? So it's
Yeah,
just like, I don't wanna say that's a fail, but I would definitely be more open and wanting to have that other type of relationship where it's all things go all the time.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
So you want me to read Elijah? So Elijah says, "Love progresses the way one is capable. People change, things change, but at the end of the day, the love is still there in some way, shape, or form." I mean,
I
right? I want a partner that understands all of that, that things are going to constantly change, but wants to evolve and grow with me
exactly, and I
in their own way, right? Like, I'm not
yeah,
saying be the same person for me the whole time. I'm saying like that are open to like, well, we used to do these things 5 years ago, but now it looks like this.
yeah,
It's evolved because we've evolved. Our taste palette has evolved. You know what I'm saying?
mhm. Yeah, and I think, like, when I think about that, I think, oh, yeah, Night Cracks, he did this post about his wife, and he talks about how they met 13 years ago and how she was, like, in her goth phase. And then when I was reading that, I was like, "Oh, like, this is someone who gets to see you through all of your different stages." You know what I mean? Like, you go through the goth phase, you go through the emo, you go into, like, the hippie, but this is someone who grows with you and, like, loves you. It's like some of my closest girlfriends, but if they were a man and I was sexually attracted to them.
But that's why, your female friends actually play such a huge role in the relationships that you have with them, because if you didn't have that, like, that kind of example, like, this is capable, like, people are capable of meeting me here and showing up for me in the ways that I need. I just need it to be from the other sex and that he understands all this stuff too. So,
Yeah.
Elijah, you said something interesting. So he says, "I see love in my divorced parents," between, I should say. So my parents are also divorced, and I don't wanna say I see love, I see, like, mutual respect and still care for one another. Like, at the end of the day, they still had 2 children together, they still were together for 25 years, like, they grew up next, they were neighbors, so I think that my parents are always going to care about each other, and I think that that's all that I care about. Like, I don't like that, like, I wouldn't want them to hate each other, like, that would suck. Like, that would be uncomfortable, but, they each have a different my mom remarried, my dad has been in a relationship for, like, 12 years now. So, they have different people, and I like the people that they're with, but I like that when they're in the same room, it's no longer the gross toxicity that it was when they were actually married,
Yeah.
So I like that growth for them.
Definitely, definitely. My parents separated. Like, my dad lived in Egypt and my mom lived in Canada, and I think so that would have happened when I was 18, and so, um and I think that it was really important for them to be apart because I think that some people, like, you can want your parents to be together. You're like, "But why?" Like, "Why does this have to break?" But, I think that there's an honesty in being able to break up with someone. Like, there's an honesty in divorce, and it teaches you, like, when you are suffering, when you are causing suffering, when you are invoking pain, when you are causing more pain than joy, that's going to do more damage. And I think there's a lot of respect to be had in, like, that choice and being able to stand in the same room afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, I can only speak for the dynamic of my household, but, um, my mother definitely stayed longer with my father because concern of children, like, breaking up a dynamic, and, like, my sister was very adamant that she didn't wanna have to pick between her parents and stuff like that, so I just felt like there was a lot of stuff that made my mom feel like, "Well, I guess I have to stay." And I used to say after I got to, like, a teenage self and I would have my own voice, I was like, "Just leave. Just, like, if you're not happy, just leave." Like, I
Yeah.
think I think when I talk about marriage as a single person, I'm speaking from my inner child of, like, I don't know, I've never been in a successful relationship because they've all ended, right? So, if you're gonna come to me for some type of advice in your marriage, my perspective is literally going to be, well, what I saw as a kid. And as a
Mhm.
kid, I'd much rather have had my parents separate a lot sooner and have been healthier humans who could have been better for me as a kid than stay in a toxic situation where then I just assumed as a kid that this is what love is. You shrink, you stay, you compromise, or whatever the case may be, or you're not even physical with them. Like, I never saw my parents hug, I never saw them hold hands, I never saw them kiss, like, never.
Oh,
So it was just like there was something like, my mom had kids, but then she was the mom, and then, like, there was, like, no dynamic of, like, husband and wife. So it was a
yeah,
very different thing for me to grow up and see and then think that, like, "Oh, well, this is what love is." Like, no, my dad has always worked really hard to make sure that everybody had what they needed. So in my relationships, I've always worked really hard to make sure that I can financially support myself as well as them, even if I don't need to,
yeah,
right? Because that's to me, that's love. If I'm financially supporting you, I must love you, right?
yeah, yeah,
So there's a lot of things that I'm like, if you come to me about your relationship, just so anybody knows, I'm gonna speak to you based off of my experience as a child. So I'm if there are children involved and you want a child's perspective, come to me because I'll be honest.
yeah,
And it'll be hard for your kid in the moment, but it'll be better for them in the long run. And I will always say, don't stay in your toxic marriage for your children. Don't ever.
yeah. My dad said that. He was like, We should have split up much sooner, and that there would have been less damage." And it took at first, I was like, "No." And then I realized, yes,
I mean, we all
yes.
we all continue to grow and get older and then understand things in a different capacity. But yeah, nobody wants to see their parents split up, but I would have much rather it happened sooner than when it did, because I think it would
Yeah,
have been better for everybody, but, like I said, I very much am an acts of service person too, from my dad, always taking care of my mom's financial needs despite her slander towards him. Yeah, so again, we just kind of learn certain things that we see, and it's not anybody's fault per se, but, as an adult now, like, I'm an age I'm 36 years old. I can remember my mom being 36 years old and me being like a kid. I can remember that and remember, so, like, I now at an age that I know my mom has obviously been, I'm like, "Oh, oh." I don't really know that much. So maybe I should give my mom a break. Like, we're all continuing to learn and grow, and things are different for every generation, and that's why we all have our names and stuff. So I give a lot more grace to my parents now because I can
Yeah.
understand it. That's for sure. Um, I'm gonna try to stay with similar theme. Um, when you sit with grief, whether on the page or in life, what helps you stay there instead of turning away?
I think that I used to run away from grief a lot, or I used to call it like I used to read a lot of love stories, like romance novels, write love poems all the time. And then once I decided to actually turn inward, and I think that my mom's death had a lot to do with this, where it's like if you don't sit with your grief, like, it comes out in every other way around you. Like, it can come out in addiction, it can come out in, like, weird texting rampages, like, to people that you don't understand. It can come out to just, like, dating for the sake of dating and not like, it shows up in all of these ways, and all of them are ways of navigating through situations and your emotional world. But when I sit with grief, now I make art with it. Like, I make memory boxes. I will paint in my sketchbook. I will write stories. I will, do all sorts of things. Like, and I want to learn like more about web design and software development and like expand my mind. But sitting with grief means just letting it stay there, like just letting it stay there without trying to change it, without trying to call it something else. And then it moves. And
Hmm.
then it comes back and then it moves.
Yeah, I mean, when I think about life, sometimes it's interesting. Like people say, like grief, there's stages to that, and I feel like I over the last year have found myself grieving different things in my life. Um, oh Elijah, thank you
Love
for
you.
being here.
Thank
Enjoy
you.
enjoy the rest of your day at work. Stay warm. And hi Kim, thanks for joining. Um, but yeah, I just feel like grief is such a prevalent part of life. Because whether it's the loss of somebody that close, like your mom, which I'm sorry, or just something like the loss of your job that was like your identity, or the loss of a friendship that you thought was going to last forever, or the loss of a partner, or the loss of the idea of that I'm gonna be this successful person, and then, well, now I'm back to square one or something, right? Like, so there's I felt like I've been in a grief cycle for the
Yeah.
last over a year, and just being able to sit, and I love the idea of utilizing that to be creative and finding ways to be creative, and, like, I don't think I'm, like, an artist or anything, but I love coloring, like, that has become one
I
of my
see.
my
You're so
favorite.
good at it.
I my the people that have seen it, like, I've been challenged a couple times, I think more specifically by motherhood, but to, like, color it not the way that I think it should be colored, and, like, that
Mhm.
is so difficult for my brain.
Yeah.
But I think that is such like, a freeing type of exercise too, like, "Here, look at these flowers. Yes, they're flowers. Yes, you can color them like flowers, or you could just color them and just be like," and that, like, a lot like, excites my inner child, right? Like, having this freedom to just create and not feel like it has to be structured in a specific way. So, I mean, I think grief is we all have to learn how to properly sit with it, and to your point, I think it shows up in a lot of different ways in the way that we communicate and the things that we decide to do, and the ways that we show up for others. So, I think we're again, I can only be responsible for myself, but I have to put in the work to show up in positive ways and not allow my negativity to spew over and disrupt other people's lives because that's not fair to them.
Exactly. Exactly.
Grace, thanks for joining. Um, oh man, time has flown. Look at that.
Yeah.
Geez, stabilize. I wanna I wanna shift it just a little bit before we, have to wrap this up. Um, I'm it's like I'm now being picky about my question, sorry.
No, that's okay.
If your life right now had a soundtrack, what's playing in the background?
You know, I, I actually discovered I'm looking for my phone, but I'm talking to you on it. Uh,
Hi.
I found this electronic version of Ave Maria and
Mm.
last night, and I was listening to it, and I thought it was, like, one of the most beautiful tracks I've heard in a really long time. Um, and I think it's because I used to sing in a choir when I was younger, and, my mom would always get me to sing Ave Maria to our house guests. I'm so sorry to them. Uh,
You were probably fabulous, stop it.
um, I'm not sure. Uh, but it's because it's sentimental, it's beautiful, and the way that it's kind of got, like, this gothic, like, hint to it, it just feels right for the moment.
Mm.
So, I'd say that.
Well, what I'll ask you to do is when we're off of the phones, send me a message with the link to this to that version, and I'll put it in the show notes for anybody who's interested to listen to it. All right. So we all can sit in that for a moment because I think that I know it's a beautiful song. So I think whatever rendition you or version you're speaking of, I'm sure will do its justice as well. And now I feel like I need to hear it. So
I bet when you hear it, you're gonna be like, "What the fuck?" But, no.
I'll let you know. Okay, I'll let you know. I might be like amazing. Yes, my theme song as well. What are you talking about? Plus, like you said, it has a sentimental value in the fact that it's a song that is, close to you and your mom. So, I love that genuinely. All right, if you could freeze one ordinary moment in your life forever, what would it be?
That is such a good question. Um, okay, I always return to this, always, 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 but I was visiting Mauritius, the country where the island where my mom is from, and I was walking home alone, and it started to rain, and it was warm out, and the ocean was, like, well, yeah, it was right beside me, and I didn't have my swimsuit or anything, but I just got, like, swept up in the moment, and I waded into the ocean, like, fully clothed, and, like, it was raining on me, and I was diving in. Like, that's the moment. Like, and I walked home and my clothes were drying along the way. It was so beautiful. I felt like I think what I liked most about that moment was it was the closest and gentlest reminder of peace that I've personally had, like, as a child, as a person, like, I can always go back to that and be like, "Wow, that was stunning."
I mean, the whole even just the way that you described right now, it seems rather beautiful. Um, I'm just moved by, like, I feel like it was probably a very spiritual moment for you, and, like, to give yourself the permission to, again, not follow the rules. Who cares? Who cares that you got in the ocean with all your clothes on while it was raining? Like, that was a moment for you, and I
Yeah.
I love that you have that, and it kinda is, like, is inspiring me the next time it's raining and I'm by a beach. I'm just gonna walk the fuck in it.
Beautifully
Uh
broken. It's beside Madagascar.
I say, like, I was joking with you prior to this about not knowing and never even hearing of that place. So maybe before we end it, maybe you just spend a second kind of letting us know a little bit about your background and the history and where you're from and this island that your mother's from that you speak of.
Yeah, so I was born and raised in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Uh, Currently I'm in Ontario, but my father is Egyptian and my mom is Mauritian. And my dad grew up quite close to the pyramids. My mom grew in a small, like, it's a small, beautiful tropical island. And, and I moved to Ontario. I've been to both places. I hold deep fondness and affection for each. I like the way the cultures have taught me different aspects of my personality and how they've colored my views of the world and my just I think those 2 places meeting in my parents was quite spectacular. But yeah, that's ultimately my background.
I mean, I love that. I mean, because those are 2 cultures, ethnicities, I don't know, whatever anybody would call that specifically, um, that is very intriguing because I think there's a lot of history, obviously, when it comes to Egypt, but I like I said, I didn't even know Mauritian was on a map. Like, I didn't even know that this was a place, and again, it comes from such a small little naive mind of mine that thinks like, "Well, I live in New York. Like, this is how the whole world must be, just like this. Like this there's something bigger outside of this." Like, really from 0 to 25 living in this space and then having an opportunity to visit and live in another location in the United States in Florida, it really opened my mind to the fact that, like, there is so much to this earth that I have yet to experience, and I think that that's where my next chapter is. I definitely feel like my 40s is gonna be me and this dog finding lovely random places to live, and I might just have to visit Mauritius just to have an idea to say, like, "I've seen this beautiful place that I would have never known if it wasn't for
Yeah.
stabilized." Honestly, like, it just sounds like sort of I'm looking for a place where me and my dog can live and that I don't need a damn car, that I can just walk or ride my bike to, like, the grocery store. Like, I want such a simple life, you
Yes.
know?
Yes. I know. I
And, like,
agree. Me
certain
too.
to me, certain islands, that's what it feels like. It's just there's this, like, calm simplicity and this beauty of what's naturally around them, and I started learning how to grow things. Like, I don't wanna feel like I need to worry or be surrounded by a whole bunch to be happy or anything like that. Um Beauty broken saying, "I've already prepared Brayden. When he gets bigger, I'm out." And I love that you've had that open conversation with your son to explain, like, "Hey, there's so much more to this world, and I wanna see it with you," you know? Like, that's a cool experience. I mean, my mom goes on cruises, like, every other fucking month to a new place, and I'm like, "Where are you now, Ma?" And she's like, "Here." And I'm like, "Did you ever get off the boat?" "No." I'm like, "So you can't really say that you've seen it if you don't ever get off the boat." I wanna go see it. I mean, I told my parents yesterday that I am very much intrigued in figuring out a way that would work for me that I can live in Puerto Rico for a period until I can decide on the actual country that I wanna go, um, visit. It's like a trial run for the way that my dog like, how to get my dog there. Um, it's yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, Beautifully Broken says when he's married and has his own family. Oh, so you're talking about, like, when he's settled, you're just gonna be like, "Oh, I'm gonna go." You're not gonna go with him? You're not gonna be like, "You're coming with me?" No? Oh. What's wrong with your internet, Monday's wife? Alright, as usual, an hour goes really quickly in here.
Mhm.
Are you open to one more question before we say goodbye to each other?
Yeah, of course.
Alright. I'm gonna stay what lane do I wanna go into? I have, like, different sections. Um, alright. What are you learning to accept that you once resisted?
The moment,
Mhm,
like, the moment exactly as it is, like, 'cause you can want so much. You can want a particular reaction, you can want something to happen, you can just want, right? But I think that I'm learning how to accept what actually exists in
mm,
this moment, because I think that by occupying the moment itself, I can actually display gratitude for it because will force me to pay attention to the things that are actually so beautiful and so good and the things that I'm so fortunate to have. But also it can trigger or allow me to ask, well, what would make this moment better? What would make this moment um a little bit easier, softer? Like, what do I need right now? And so it's like answering the moment and being in it and not wanting to be in a million different places at once. And I think I'm learning how to settle down. Before I used to have such wild feet and I'd want to go everywhere and like um, but I think learning how to just stay in the moment and then understanding that things take the time that they need to take. And most of the time, if you rush something, it's not going to be built well.
Thank you for saying that last part. I mean, thank you for saying all of that, honestly, but, like, um, I think it is definitely very difficult to just be and to just allow yourself to just exist amongst whatever you're experiencing in that moment. I think I definitely have struggled in the past to not really appreciate said process because I'm so focused on said goal. Like, I just want to get to where I want to go, and, like,
Mhm,
I will just forget that the process is also a really beautiful place to participate in. So, I think as I near almost being a year on Substack, I think I had a lot of expectations for myself and for what I was doing, even though it's all new to me. Like,
mhm.
I don't I've been in retail management my whole life. Like, I know how to I may know how to, like, coexist with people, but I definitely not 100% sure of how to, like, make something bigger than what I could even imagine it to be. So, I think I am definitely learning to allow the time necessary for it to grow into whatever it's going to grow into, and just continue to have faith that because it's me doing it, it'll get there, you know?
Yeah,
And, like, that
yeah.
being enough. So I very much appreciate you being with me here today. I know that this is probably something that was a little bit outside of your normal box, and I always give a lot of kudos to all of my co-hosts because if a stranger asks me to answer some questions online, I may or may not do it. I don't know.
Mhm.
So the fact that, I have such amazing human beings that agree to do this and then really show up so present and genuine and honest and vulnerable is something that I'm always, like, taken back by, like, wow, I love being able to have conversations with new people and to listen to different perspectives that help shift things with inside me, or people say things that they don't even know that I need to hear, you know. So it all feels like it's always aligned in its greater purpose. So I very much appreciate you being here today, my
Thank
friend.
you for making space for me. Thank you for making
Absolutely.
space for me. This is such an honor. Um, and I remember reading your piece about how you like lost the PetSmart job and then how you started writing and all of that. And I think your journey is incredible. And I'm so proud to be here. And I'm so happy that you allowed me to share your space.
Literally anytime. Anytime. I mean, I don't say this, like, in a cocky way, like, I am usually scheduled out, like, a month and a half in advance, and I just feel like, again, that's a me thing because I feel like I need to have X amount lined up because it needs to look like it's professional or so I have no idea, right? It's just my
Yeah.
brain. Like, I have to know who's coming up and everything like that, but, um to be able to close out this very short month of February with you, is definitely the honor is mine, my friend, and I will tell you literally anytime you wanna come back, you're always welcome. And I like when co-hosts come back because then it's like 3 to 6 months later, and it's usually now you get to see where you're at, and hopefully by that time, your app will be out,
Exactly.
and we can talk about some other new things that you're working on and stuff, but genuinely appreciate you being here, and you're always welcome to come back. I don't know if anybody had any other questions before we wrap it up for the lovely Stabilize, also known as Fatima, which it's a beautiful, beautiful name, by the way.
Thank you.
Did you have any questions or anything Thanks, Kim. You're always so
Thank you,
sweet.
Kim.
And you came in late. You didn't even get all the good stuff. Just kidding, just kidding. But is there anything else that you'd like to share with anybody?
No, just that I'm happy to be amongst all of you. I think all of you have played a significant role in allowing me to feel safe and good on Substack and to become a far better writer, like, and a proper reader. So thank
You're you're an amazing writer. I don't know if you, like, you know that, but you're an actual amazing writer.
thank you. I'm curious about moms and grief.
Maybe
Um,
I think this would be a great opportunity for you 2 to link up after this because there might be a way that both of you, could help each other through that process or a collab that might help some other people through those processes. You just never know. But I'd love to hear perspectives for both of you on that topic.
yeah, definitely beautifully broken. I'll reach out to you and you can ask me anything and then we can just talk about it because I think it's good to talk about it. I think it's good to open up that space and it just helps it breathe a little bit more so that it's not always so contained.
Yeah, and again, I mean, this is where that saying that our lovely friend earlier said, "Empathy loves company," where when you're there's a, like, I mean, I could be a great friend to Beautifully Broken, right? Like, I could be in her DMs constantly or hit her up on the phone and be like, "Yo," but I haven't experienced that specific situation, so it is difficult for somebody to feel comfortable enough to share in that way. So I this is why I love this space just in general, because it allows humans to be humans with one another and allows people to find people that have gone through or are going through something similar to kind of so you're not alone in it. And like
Yeah,
that's really all that I've ever wanted this space to be is you never have to be alone in the life quakes that you're in. You never have to be alone in whatever life is throwing at your way. Like everybody has similarities, and that's why I feel like we're all, connected, right? I say that in the beginning.
yeah,
So I'm glad that she mentioned something. Her 2-year anniversary is in May, so I definitely feel like you guys probably should connect and maybe, see what happens and comes from that. Either way, I adore both of you amazing women. And I'm grateful that you're a part of this community.
thank you. Thank you. This was a real pleasure. And thank you, everyone who joined for joining.
Absolutely. Well, with that being said, you've been in the inner room where the conversations go deep, the connections surprise, and the truths linger long after the world quiets down. Until next time, keep listening inward because that's where the stories that shape us really live. I hope you all have an amazing, beautiful day.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.